So we need to create a join table. If you are conversant with databases, you would have already understood what join tables are. So we need to create a join table for this. The join table will be for nominations and user, so we can track which nominations each user has done. So it's nomination underscore user. So it's only join tables that are in Laravel. Only join tables have the right to be singular. If it's not a join table, it must be plural. Otherwise, Laravel will not understand what you're trying to do. So a join table is basically a middle table between two other tables. So we are trying to create a middle table between nominations and users. So, and it has to be in alphabetical order. So the table with the starts with the first alphabet or the earlier alphabet will be first. So nomination N comes before U. Look at users U. That's where we have we are naming that join table nomination user. Now this is a table where we'll keep track of how many nominations and which persons a user has nominated. So this thing will make sense to you as we go ahead, but just do exactly what you're doing now. Click this and it's done. It has been created. Nomination user. Nomination user will keep track of two things: the user that is making the nomination and the nomination that he made. So we're gonna do a table. We want to know the user that is making the nomination, so we'll call it user ID. Then we want to know the nomination he is making, which is who he is nominating, so we call it nomination ID. Alright, so the other thing we want to do, just to save memory space, we can always figure this out if we write the proper queries, but just to save ourselves the trouble in case we have 10 million, 20 million queries coming in, let us also keep track of the category ID here. Like I said, this is redundant. The reason it's redundant is because category ID is already in nominations table, so we can always fetch it, but we're trying to avoid that in case we have a lot of records on our database and we need our queries to be fast. Alright, so we're tracking the category too. So this table tracks like user 1, which is, let's say, user 1 nominated nominee 33 or 30, which is in category 2, something like that. So that's what we want to keep track of here. Alright, so I think this settles it for this. We'll have to consult our slides to see what's remaining. Nomination must happen during a nomination period. So we want to make sure that nomination period doesn't expire. So see, nomination must happen during a nomination period. So admin logs in basically and then sets a period that from May 16th to May 20th is nomination period. From May 21st to May 30th is voting period. So we need a table where admin can set these things. Alright, so let's go and check it out. Of course, there are many ways to sort that thing out, especially if depending on your own scenario. But in my own scenario, I want to keep it simple. So we're just going to create a settings table where admin sets the start and end periods for each nomination. So we're going to do this and call it settings table. So it has been created. If you look at here, you see that it's been created. So here we're going to have to keep track of date time. I just have to confirm whether this is possible, and we call it nomination start date. Start date. We could break this down properly. Let's go to Laravel on table and look for date time. So created that. So date time works well. Nomination contains date and time, and start date, nomination end dates. Nomination end date. All right, so we're gonna do voting start date, voting end date, voting start date. So along the line, if we figure out that there are other things that we need admin to be able to set up, then we can do it here. All right, so otherwise we're good to go. Okay, then something else that I think this is okay so far. Now admin may want to give authority to an audit firm. I think we should just leave that out for now. So this is the settings table. If we figure out other things that admin may be able to set up in the future, we'll add it here. Right, so in the next video we'll continue until we set out all the migrations that we need to do. Like in the subsequent videos we need to sort out votings and so on. So we're going to have to work out the votings aspect, and that's the last aspect we need to work out in the migrations, and then before we move ahead to the next chapter.